Hello guys, today we're going to look into adding or subtracting fractions with different denominators. In our previous video we looked at adding or subtracting fractions with the same denominator pretty much. So this is going to be a bit different, and I'm going to be using a lot of examples or to sort of demonstrate this topic. So if we, and then I'll write the rules here on the side. So what we need to do, and then solve the question, a couple of questions to sort of get our understanding exact. So let's start with the basic question. So if you have like 2/3 plus, let's go 5/6. All right. We can, if you look at, in our previous video, we did say that we need to have a common denominator. So in this case, so if you actually look at the denominators here, you can actually see they're not the same. So we can't just add them straight away. We have to do some changes to our denominator so we can add these two fractions together. So, and the way we do this, if you actually look at your denominator, so what's going to be easy about this denominator, we can see that the denominators actually double each other, and we can actually do some changes to our first fraction and get a common denominator. So what we need to do in this case, if we want to make this like our first fraction with a denominator of 6, all we have to do is multiply it by 2, and when we multiply this fraction by 2, we have to multiply the top and the bottom number, so the numerator and the denominator must be multiplied by 2, and then we can get a common denominator and add them. So let's have a look. So if you go 2 times 4, in this case is going to be, so let's go on the side here, so 2 times 2 is going to be 4, 2 times 6 is, so 2 times 3 is going to be 6, and we've done changes to our first fraction. Do we need to do any changes to our second fraction? No, because we do have a common denominator in this case. So now we can actually add these fractions together, and that's going to equal 9/6. If you leave this answer as it is, you're technically right. You're not wrong, but in mathematics we tend to simplify this answer to a smaller fraction. So if you do simplify it, we can see it's like both numbers are multiples of 3. So if you divide the top number by 3, you're going to get an answer of 3. And if you multiply the bottom number, which is the denominator, by 3, you're going to get a 2. So your total answer is going to be 3/2. So if we just write a couple of notes here, the rules that we need to do. So look for, I guess first thing is look for a common denominator. Let's write this here. Okay, so that's your first thing you probably want to do. Second thing is, if there isn't any common denominator, look at the fraction, see if we can actually do some changes to one of the fractions that we have, and if we can get a common denominator by multiplying those fractions. So looking for multiples, so you have to look for multiple. I guess denominator, or okay, oops, yep. And then we can actually do the calculations once we do some changes to a fraction. So let's have a look at another question just quickly. So if we go 3/4 plus, let's go 1/2 in this case. Okay, so let's have a look at our first rule is see if there's a common denominator. So there isn't a common denominator. So that means we need to do some changes to one of these fractions to make sure we have the same denominator. So in this case, if you look at it, you probably, a sort of smart move will be looking at the smallest denominator as a number, that is, and we need to probably multiply that to get to a larger number. So in this case, this is our, I guess, our smaller sort of fraction, and we have to multiply this fraction by 2, and then once we do this, we need to do the calculation, see if we get a common denominator. So the first fraction, obviously leave it as it is, all right, and then we go to the second fraction. So we have to multiply both numbers, the numerator and the denominator, by 2. So 2 times 1 is 2, over 2 times 2 is 4. And now we can actually add these fractions because they both have a common denominator in this case. So that's going to equal 2. Let me do that again. It's going to equal to 5 over 4. So that's going to be our final answer, and that's how we actually do some changes to our fraction to have a common denominator. So let's actually do one with a subtraction. So let's have an example here. So if you have 6 over 10 minus 1 over 5, okay? Again, it doesn't matter if it's adding or subtracting, we still apply the same principle. We look for a common denominator, so in this case, they're not, the denominators aren't the same, so obviously we need to make changes to our smallest fraction. In this case, we look for the smallest denominator in terms of a number, so that's 5, and we need to get that equal to 10. So what do? We need to multiply it by 2. If this 10, so the 10 over here, the denominator, I think I stuffed that up. I'll rewrite that. So the 10 over here, if that was a 15, then we probably have to multiply it by 3 to get this 5 equal to 15. But in this case, we have to multiply by 2. So let's do that. So 6 over 10 minus 2 times 1 is 2 over 10. Now we do have a common denominator, so that's going to equal to 4 over 10. As I said, you can leave the answer as it is. You won't be wrong, but in mathematics we like to make our fractions smaller, and that would be pretty much the correct answer. So to simplify this fraction, we can see that there's a multiple of 2 there, so let's divide the top number by 2, so that's going to equal to 2 over 5 when you divide 10 by 2. So you get 2 over 5 will be your final answer. Thanks for watching my video.